We are back with another episode of the Sick Podcast Steeler Crazy. I am Jay York Football. This is Mic'd Up Sports One. Make sure you check out our interview with new Steeler, University of Wisconsin linebacker Nick Herbig. It's out now, so make sure you check that out. But we have a different type of guest on today, a stats guy, and he's going to break down all things Steelers here on the Sick Podcast Steeler Crazy. Sammy, take it to the end zone.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, you said a different type of guest. Who knows? We don't know if this guy played linebacker back in the day. Maybe it's a similar type of guest to Nick Herbig, but we are really excited to bring in a guy that you know from Twitter, of course. Big part of what the Steelers, do in terms of relevancy just on social media and whatnot. So really excited. He is football editor over at The Score. You can find him at Stats Guy Daniel. It's none other than Daniel Valente. Daniel.
Hey, how are you guys? Thanks for having me. Have to let you guys know, unfortunately, I did not play linebacker back in the day. Just never was tall or big enough for it. Probably would have got crushed, but...
All right, we can cross that off.
We were just leaving the window open. We just had to confirm it once we brought you on, so...
It's a pleasure to have you. Like I said, a lot of people know you as the stats guy, but you're a really well-rounded Steelers analyst. So... Listen, Daniel, we've got all the draft grades from all the publications, of course. I think we can all say at this point the Steelers fared fairly well. But let's get your draft grade. What are you giving them?
So we actually I gave him an A+, which is, very rare. I don't think I've ever walked away from a Steelers draft saying, like, this is amazing, especially right off the bat. I was saying, too, I'm so used to even I think you can see this universally around, other publications, people's analysis and pundits, where you look back in 2 to 3 years at Steelers drafts and then you go, wow, they found this guy, and looking back, A+. It's never been where, they finish the draft and we're like, wow, they got such incredible value and such great picks. Now, obviously they have to put it out on the field first before, but it would be almost impossible to come away from what they did and be disappointed.
You mentioned value. For you, who's the best value pick? A lot to pick from, of course. A lot of people, saying Corey Trice in the 7th round, absolute steal. I think you can make an argument for Herbig. Obviously, Darnell Washington. If you had to pick one specifically, best value pick.
I think it's going to be Joey Porter Jr. for me.
Nice.
Because, so many people had had to be Joey Porter Jr. or Broderick Jones / any offensive tackle in round 1. And the Steelers came away with it with both, and the way it worked out was actually just so picture perfect almost.
What are your thoughts on Omar Khan's ability to maneuver in his first draft as general manager? I mean, moving up, obviously, with the Jets, to get ahead of the Jets, a savvy move. But I thought moving back in round 3 and then ultimately still getting Darnell Washington might have been the crown jewel for me.
I think it just shows not only how aggressive he can be, but also just how flexible he is. And it's at times very rare for an organization like the Steelers, who like to do things a certain way. They have certain philosophies, but I think, we're starting to see some new blood like Omar Khan and, starting to see how he does things. And it's very clear through his first offseason, his first draft, that he's not afraid to wheel and deal and do what he has to do. If that means being aggressive and filling a need, he'll do that. If that means, we still have a couple more needs and only have this much draft capital left, I'm not afraid to, move back. Maybe we miss out on the guy we want, but, it's going to allow us to plug more holes.
We're hanging out with Daniel Valente here on the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy, breaking down all things Steelers offseason as we head towards a schedule release coming out here pretty soon. Everybody excited about that. All right, I'm going to hit you with one more draft question before we turn it over to Jordan here. Everybody is pretty familiar with the Steelers, our show, knows the big names at this point, Broderick Jones, Joey Porter Jr. Tell us about some of those late round guys and maybe some undrafted free agents that you think could make an impact someday.
I think Herbig's a guy who, I think he's maybe someone who will need some time in development, but, I think there's easy to see a role where, he starts on special teams, starts to carve a name out for himself, and eventually that ends up with something. Corey Trice is another one, another good late round guy where, he's almost like Joey Porter Jr. in a way, which kind of fits the mold of what Steelers kind of want in corners, tall, lengthy, able to play press man. And I think that's another guy where, hopefully, health is on his side and, potentially there's a role for him at some point here in the maybe not the near future, but in the future sometime. So those are like two guys who I think, who I've most penciled in.
Definitely. So let's move the Steelers free agency. What was the biggest surprise to you?
I think it had to be just, how much they spent on the O-line there and, just again, how aggressive they were. And, Isaac Simaleu, the other her big brother there. And it was a very clear, the Steelers went into this offseason, it felt like saying, listen, we drafted our franchise guy or the guy we hope to be our franchise guy last year in Kenny Pickett. Now we have to do everything possible to show that we trust him and we're going to give him all the pieces he needs moving forward. And, investing in the O-line is the easiest way to do that. And, we saw him twice last year in the concussion protocol. And obviously, you don't want to see that happen to your franchise guy. So, patching up that O-line, I think was the biggest move. And, another thing that is very almost out of the Steelers philosophy where, we're not used to being the big winners in free agency either, but, seeing them attack it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. So just your initial thoughts on the Patrick Peterson signing.
Obviously it's disappointing when you lose out on a guy like Cam Sutton.
Yeah, I agree. I was kind of bummed about that.
Yeah, especially a guy like that who, the Steelers, as we've seen, haven't had the best success in drafting and developing defensive backs or cornerbacks more specifically. And for a guy like Cam Sutton, who, very smart player, started out as like a sub-package guy, worked his way to, the full-time slot guy and a full-time starter. And then, to see him get paid, it kind of felt, kind of a bummer that it wasn't the Steelers who were able to give him that money and keep him home.
Yeah.
But, I think Patrick Peterson, he's definitely in the twilight of his career and, his better days are probably behind him. But, he didn't play that bad last season. And, I think there's still value for him in this cornerback room where he's a proven veteran voice, a proven veteran leadership. You get a guy like Joey Porter Jr. in there, Corey Trice in there, and this is a guy that they can rely on. So obviously, the loss of Cam Sutton is a negative, but, Patrick Peterson, what actually most impressed me most about that signing maybe is just how fast he was signed after losing Cam Sutton. And it wasn't like, the Steelers aren't really caught off guard. They lose in one area and they're okay, well, how can we fix this up? But I think Patrick Peterson, I wouldn't be surprised if he adds, 4 interceptions or something, just because he will be playing a lot. And, I think the only question mark with him is just kind of a scheme fit, more of a zone guy. Now he's coming into a man heavy scheme, but, I think that's something that he'll be able to handle.
Definitely. Something that shocked me and Mike, and I know Mike agrees with this, was the Allen Robinson trade. That kind of came out of left field. Just kind of talk about how you feel about that. And I just, we have so much depth at wide receiver, so I kind of, gave it a thumbs down. I mean, I know he helped me a lot in fantasy when he played for the Bears, so I hope that he can do the same thing on the Steelers, but I just don't really see what role he fits into the Steelers offense. So I just kind of wanted to shed some light on that.
Yeah, I think, you have to view this trade almost realistically in the sense that, yes, Allen Robinson is a big name. He's a guy we've seen make the Pro Bowl before, have a 1,000-yard season, but most likely he's just not that guy anymore either. But, I think in the case of viewing this trade, if you look at it as, they took a flyer on a guy who could bounce back, could give them a big year. They got him on a discount, didn't have to give up much, can play in the slot, which is, an area of need for the team. They have Calvin Austin Jr., but again, he missed all of last season. It's hard to, rely on that guy. He's pretty much a rookie himself now coming into year 2, just because he missed out on that thing. But I think there's still a role for Allen Robinson. He still got it done, even though he was banged up last year. When he was on the field, he showed he could still be a reliable red zone guy. He's a big target, and that's one area where we kind of saw Kenny Pickett maybe struggle a bit last season. It's just when the field got narrower down in the red zone, just getting the ball in the end zone to a wide receiver was a big struggle for him. So, I think he could fill in there. I think it's possible that, maybe Allen Robinson does flame out and he's not the guy who the Steelers need him to be. But then again, you look back on it and what did they really give up for him? They got him on a discount rate.
Definitely. So before I throw it back over to Mike, I think this is a really intriguing question, especially in Pittsburgh. Who will be the third string QB? I think that that's just like, again, there's a lot of $1 million questions right now in Steeler world, and I think that that's one of them because we see, as you said, Kenny and protocol, Mitch can be iffy at times. So who do you think gets that third string QB slot?
Any random name?
I don't know if I have a random name, but I think Tanner Morgan there, the UDFA, will have a chance to compete. I mean, Mason Rudolph is still a free agent, I'm pretty sure.
Do you think there's any chance they could bring him back? Do you think he wants to come back? Like that's like
one-sided. The Steelers would have him back, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
a guy who's
he's a class act. I mean, I'll say that Mason is definitely a class act. I mean, you want to play, I get it. I mean,
Nick Foles is another name I saw thrown around, but again, just because we're so not used to the Steelers adding these high name guys, it's kind of hard to see that. But my guess is probably just as good as yours because.
So okay, just say it. You don't have to live or die by this, but it's September 6th, whatever the first game is. I don't know what the exact date is. But who's the Steelers' third string quarterback going into the season? Sorry, I put you on the spot, but you're the stat guy. You got to.
Yeah, I don't know if the numbers are going to help me with this one, but just give me Mason Rudolph. Let's say he crawls back.
Nice.
There you go. Wow.
Shot in the dark. Maybe a betting favorite. Call Duck Hodges. I'm on line one.
He was just in Pittsburgh, so
line one with the Duck. No, I obviously half kidding. Ben DiNucci does not make the Broncos.
Ben DiNucci. Yeah,
I'm really interested in that potentially happening. I think he'd be a really good fit for. A guy that you hope doesn't play anyways. Let's transition a little bit to the NFL schedule release, Daniel. You want to talk about just something that has become another national phenomenon. We don't know, right? We have no idea how this is going to look. But obviously some really important, travel dates on the Steelers schedule, heading to the West Coast again. If you had to just give us any predictions, how many primetime games, who do you think they're getting in week one? We're putting you on the spot, getting you on record again. What any predictions at all for this schedule?
Well, I would at least hope this year that the week one game is finally at home.
Finally,
I think after what is it, 8 or 9 in a row on the road, I think maybe the NFL could at least give them a break and give them one at home. That West, I think we'll probably see them around, if not 5, definitely, I think 4 primetime games, just because, the Steelers are just one of those teams where if they're on TV, people are going to watch, even if they are, let's say, not that I think they're going to be like this, but even if they are 3-14 or something awful, like people will still tune in and watch Steelers just because
to yell
the name alone. Yeah. Some games, let's see. The Patriots would be a good one for week one. I think that would be a good one.
The return of Juju.
Yeah, that would be.
I remember. I always wonder what type of reception he would get. I mean, in a Patriots uniform, I have to. Yeah, again, it's the same thing. Like, I still can't believe Kenny Pickett is the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I can't believe that Juju Smith is a wide receiver for the New England Patriots. But hey, life happens.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough sell, seeing Juju in a Patriots jersey.
Yeah, I remember he was in Pittsburgh and he flicked off took a picture with someone.
Yeah. I remember
everyone was posting it when he signed with them, and I get it.
Money talks.
It's a business.
I was at the 2017 game there where he almost took it all the way at the end, and now to see him in the Patriots jersey, kind of crazy.
Wow,
definitely
deja vu.
that West Coast, I think they got a game in LA and a game on Seattle. Those games are always, make you nervous. As
the
a
LA
Steelers
game will
supporter.
basically be like a home game from what I've seen in the
Yes.
past.
Yeah. So maybe this is the year also where the Steelers get over their, their West Coast bad vibes whenever they go out there.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little Steelers-Niners in prime time. How cool would that be?
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Or even a Steelers-Packers, Give me give me two historic
You're looking for a nostalgic game, taking it back.
Yeah. We'll get you out of here.
Historical franchise.
Yeah, for sure. Daniel, just talk about the state of the AFC North a little bit. What do you think about Lamar Jackson re-signing with the Ravens? Where are the Steelers kind of in the pecking order, in your opinion?
I think the Steelers are still in there, second, third, around there with the Baltimore Ravens now. I think what the Steelers, I think this is clearly probably one of the hardest divisions in football, just because 3 teams have proven quarterbacks. The Steelers have a quarterback on the rise, and just that alone, but I think what the advantage the Steelers have is, again, having a QB on a rookie contract, able to, build a more balanced team around them. Whereas, you see Lamar get this money now. Burrow's going to get his money soon. Deshaun's on that crazy contract. So I would put the Steelers right in there. I think Cincinnati is still the team to beat. And just until they do get beat, I think it's hard to move them off that top spot. But I can definitely see the Steelers making a jump this year. I think the key thing for Pittsburgh would be, last year we saw Kenny Pickett and the Steelers get it done in the clutch. If I think it was like 4 game-winning drives or something like that. I think the key thing now this year is to just not even be in a position where you need a game-winning drive to be able to sustain that for 60 minutes and, play complete football games. And I think if they play complete football games, which on paper they have the team that should be able to do that, I can easily see them, challenging for second, a playoff spot. I think playoff spot has to be the benchmark this year.
Yeah, I would put the AFC North right below the AFC East, in my opinion, in terms of strongest divisions in the National Football League. He was not an elite linebacker, however, he is an elite stats guy. Football editor over at The Score at Stats Guy. Daniel, there you can see it right there on your screen. Make sure you give him a follow. You're following him already. What am I even talking about? Daniel, man, it's a pleasure to have you on. Can't wait to do it again, maybe sometime during the season. And everybody, will be following for sure, man.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.
Go Steelers.
Yeah, look at what jersey you have on today, by the way. You Jeffrey?
No, Troy Polamalu. I had to throw it back. I was just feeling.
I saw the 3. That's why I saw the 3, and I said,
"This is the authentic one too." I think I've had this since like 6th grade.
I thought you pulled out the Jeff Reed on us today, but
no, that's only for the tailgates.
Yeah, I just want to shout out Daniel once more. Really good stuff. And I obviously want to encourage you guys to go back in that channel, like you said, and watch our latest episode with Nick Herbig. Really his first podcast appearance on any Pittsburgh
Great guy,
platform. Too. Great guy. He got emotional a little bit talking about how passionate he is about the game and how cool it is playing with his brother.
Dynamite comes in small packages.
I love that quote. This is going to be.
We might have to put that on a shirt.
You might have to put that on a shirt. He talked about Keanu Benton too. Wisconsin teammate said he was shocked he didn't get picked in the first round, which says a lot about this draft class once more for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, yeah, good show is going to continue. Obviously on the way. Great guests, Jordan, and maybe some new jerseys from you as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that the Steelers schedule releases next week, so we'll be breaking it down.
This week.
Yeah, I think last year we did the breakdown. I'd like to throw that in the garbage, just like my NCAA basketball bracket. But this year, I think we're going to do a little bit better. So keep the faith. Most definitely. Well, this has been another great episode of the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. I am Jay York Football. That's Mic'd Up Sports 1. Make sure you subscribe on all our channels down there. It's like we got the, bottom ticker. We're official. You're official. Thank you, Steeler Nation. We'll see you soon. Sammy.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.